Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTN News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Let's begin with the headlines. Nigerian delegation visits model cattle ranch in Brazil, seeks to replicate same in Nigeria.
Security because of farmer herder crisis. If you're able to have this ranching and have cattle in a controlled environment.
Vice President Kashim Shettima calls for united action to close Nigeria's widening skills gap.
Those meetings have laid important groundwork, and I'm confident that today's deliberations will further solidify.
Nigeria Customs intercepts container loaded with over 10,000 donkey genitals along Abuja. Minister of Steel Development unveils federal government's plan to resuscitate legacy steel assets in Nigeria ahead of National Steel Summit. We begin the broadcast in Brazil, where in continuation of its quest to attract investors for the livestock sector, a Nigerian delegation has visited one of the cattle ranches of the world's biggest beef producer, JPS Group, for sightseeing. State House correspondent Musbat Wahab reports that the delegation deployed by President Bola Tinubu said they are inspired and expressed the belief that the project is a possibility in Nigeria with the commitment of the current administration.
Beyond series of conference room discussions, this is another delegation to ascertain seriousness of a potential partnership. From the area view, the delegation, including governors of Ogun, Niger, and Benue states, had a sense of what to come.
Bago, you get work, you get serious work.
Touching ground on the J&F farm, a subsidiary of JBS Group located on the Araguaia Valley near Brasilia, the reality dawned on the delegation.
Look at this, they be like elephant too.
Sitting on 3,000 hectares of land in Aruana, this is not just a farmland, but a colony of cattle, and not just a business, but an economy of its own.
All the cattle is tagged individually, and we control everything through the tag. How many kilos they convert, how many days they are in the yard, about the health and the protocols, the vaccines, everything.
With majority of Nelore and a crossbreed of Angus and Nelore, about 95,000 cattle bred at a different location are brought here for proper feeding for 120 days.
It's 3 rounds because it's 120 days on feed. Go another group of cattle 120 days, go and another 120. So you turn 3 eyes. So not 94,000 head of cattle times 3 eyes. So it's going to be about almost 300, 260, 250,000 head of cattle.
Under Pivot's irrigation system, crops are grown on the farm to replenish the silages of feed for the cattle.
It's not just the corn, it's
The leaves and everything.
yeah.
In operation with progression spanning over 20 years, the company now has a record of global biggest exporter of beef.
This cattle here go to one of the largest beef plants that we operate here in Brazil, that is 60 kilometers from here, and we export this meat to everywhere. We export to Europe, we export to China, to South America, to the Middle East, to many different countries.
Is a demonstration of what the Fulani people are doing. They can be put here, food will be brought to them, and they are fattened and sold. And this is a cycle of 120 days. So you have 3 cycles in a year. The ecosystem is huge because you're going to be cropping corn, you're going to be cropping sorghum, you're going to be cropping sugarcane, grasses.
This is inspiring
It is inspiring, a game changer. This is where we need to be. And it's going to change the entire ecosystem of our herdsmen. It's going to do away with prices, insecurity.
Security because of farmer-herder crisis. If you're able to have this ranching and have cattle in a controlled environment, it takes care of so many different things. It brings employment to our youth, as we know, industrialization, food security, because if we're able to produce all this protein, even a foreign exchange earner.
And now, with discussions between the company and the Nigerian government in final stages, the delegation leaves the Araguaia Valley with a renewed hope of the possibility of replicating these achievements in Nigeria. And until then, the cowboys say goodbye. In Aruana, Brazil, Musbau Nanwahab, NC News.
And back home here in Nigeria, federal government has called for immediate and united action to close Nigeria's widening skills gap, describing it as a national priority critical to economic transformation. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the call during the 6th meeting of the National Council on Skills at the Presidential Villa. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
The Council's mandate to develop a strategic workforce capable of meeting Nigeria's evolving economic demands. And this 6th meeting of the Council is to discuss on a proposal for the review of existing skills training centers across several ministries, departments and agencies of government to align their work and functions with the national development goals.
Our previous meetings have laid important groundwork, and I'm confident that today's deliberations will further solidify our progress, bringing our diverse perspectives and expertise to bear on these important matters. Our collective wisdom and decisive actions are essential for unlocking the full potential of our human capital.
The Vice President described the session as an open forum where positions were aired and important decisions taken.
The federal government will harvest the youths from the sub-nationals to train to ensure that the quality that we need is given to them, and identification of the specific type of skills that we need in Nigeria, not training a youth and at the end of the day he's not useful.
People, as citizens, that want these skills, and this is what the president says. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu always says that the children are the youth are the heartbeat of this country, and what we're doing in this council, led by the chairman, vice president, is to really give the high-quality education that impart as citizens looking to get technical vocational skill training, the best and high quality, to make them useful in the country, useful to themselves, and be able to compete globally as well.
I want to assure you that the organized private sector of Nigeria is willing, able, and ready to collaborate with the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to achieve the laudable objectives of His Excellency, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to achieve, his hope agenda.
A presentation was made on the National Artisan Skills Acquisition Program, an initiative aimed at training 10,000 artisans annually in high-demand construction trades to formalize Nigeria's informal artisan sector by providing certification and onboarding qualified artisans into a digital artisan marketplace. A major highlight of the meeting was the proposal for a national skills infrastructure audit to create a centralized database of all training facilities, verify their functionality, and identify gaps. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for transparency and accountability in Nigeria's public service, urging former and current public officials to summon the courage to document their life and stewardship while in service. He stated this at the public presentation of OPL 245, the inside story of the $1.3 billion oil block, a memoir written by a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Bello Adoke, held at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila has the report again.
OPL 245, inside story of the $1.3 billion Nigerian oil block authored by Mohammed Bello Adoke, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice during President Goodluck Jonathan, has a subject of discourse over allegations of corruption, but this book gives further clarifications.
It focuses on the OPL 245 in an extensive and comprehensive account of the allegations about his role, the burden that he has had to endure in terms of what he calls clinical persecution, or the lies and more lies, I'm quoting him, that were told against him and his eventual vindication.
Let me use this opportunity to urge all of us to be conscious of the fact that power belongs to God. The best anyone who is blessed with the opportunity of a public office should do is to commit to that assignment and use the opportunity to uphold truth, justice, and fairness.
But this book and the broader discourse it contributes to is not just about the oil block. It is about how Nigeria governs its resources, how decisions made in government echo through generations, and how public officials must balance legal clarity with national interest even when under pressure.
The 271-page book with 5 parts and 26 chapters was unveiled in Abuja, recalling on events in the oil block story that led the author to go on exile. And today, after all the hurdles, his last word is forgiveness.
Permit me to say, Your Excellency, that I've forgiven all those who have hands in my ordeal. With the public presentation of this book, sir, I say boldly and clearly that I admire the courage of Ibrahim Mustapha Magum in coming forward to make up with me, to apologize to me, and to empathize with me for the role each and every one of them played.
There is no final adjournment in the pursuit of justice. There is no permanent discharge in the reckoning of history. We have always been summoned, not by a judge, but by conscience and by posterity. This book, therefore, is an access card to the next phase of hearings in the court of public opinion. The pages of this work will inspire debates. They will provoke rebuttals. They will ignite fresh investigations. These conversations will take place in drawing rooms, in lecture halls, and in the columns of tomorrow's newspapers.
Other speakers at the event acknowledged the bold steps taken by the author to give his own account in this compelling book on one of Nigeria's most contentious oil deals. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
And from the Red Chamber, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the establishment of more tertiary education institutions in the country is meant to provide a lifeline to the more than 2 million Nigerian youth who have difficulties securing admission each year. He gave the pointer at plenary on Thursday when the Senate passed 8 bills for the establishment of more federal universities in the country. National Assembly correspondent Lamiali reports.
Senate, as the consideration of reports on the bills, noted that education, aside being one of the key priority areas of the administration of President Bola Tinubu, as evident in his prompt assent to such legislations, it is also of significance in efforts to reduce insecurity.
There is no year that we do not have over 2 million Nigerian children unable to secure admission to tertiary education after every JAMB. So today, what we have done will reduce at least by 50% the number of children roaming the streets and searching for years to have higher educational opportunities. And this, in turn, will stop them from being lured into acts of criminality that will be inimical to the progress and development of this country.
Senate also passed the bill to establish a training institution for the Nigeria Police Service Commission.
That is the civilian aspect of the police establishment. And you will know that their primary duty is one, to recruit, to handle promotion, and to discipline. If you are not well equipped, it means you will be recruiting unqualified, incompetent people that cannot serve well in the police force itself.
In another development, Senate has resolved to impress on the President to approve payments of compensation to the family of Mr. Fidelis Omoria over the death of his 2-year-old son and the younger sibling who sustained injuries to the eye following a shooting incident involving an operative of the NDLEA in 2023 in Asaba, Delta State.
200 million naira only to Fidelis Omoria as compensation for the death of his 2-year-old son and his younger brother who was shot in the eye that may result in him going blind.
Senate paid tribute to the late former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Chief Agunwa Anekwe, as it urged the federal government to immortalize him. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. More reports after the break. Stay with us.
The Baffy Furniture Shopping Festival is here. From June 15th to August 15th, enjoy 20%, 30%, up to 50% off on most products. Explore 2025 exclusive collections at discounted prices, plus wedding packages with a free TV stand gift. Plus, free delivery and installation in Abuja, Lagos, Kano, and Enugu. Customize your favorite sets in your preferred color and fabric, from kid-friendly options to our luxurious smart beds. Don't miss out. Shop now at Baffy Furniture.
Thank you for being there. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is engaging information commissioners who are members of the All Progressives Congress to strengthen their communication capabilities as ambassadors of renewed hope policies in the states. The Conference for Commissioners of Information, put together by the Progressive Governors Forum, holding in Minna, Niger State, is the platform for the engagement. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
The federal and state governments might have different policies and programs. The bond here is for the country's #1 spokesman to compare notes with those with similar responsibilities at the subnational government, equip them with more facts and figures about the successes of the Renewed Hope 8-point agenda that is on a steady move into the second half of its first-term mandate.
Let me say that as at this morning, over 600,000 applications have been received by NELFund, the Nigeria Education Loan Fund. Over 300,000 of them, over 360,000 of them, as of today, are benefiting from this novel initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Government has committed over 70 billion naira to this project. What it means is that all these people, over 300,000 of them, who are benefiting from this program, are not just going back to school, they are also returning school because their tuition fee is being paid by this administration, and they are also giving them money as pocket money, as for them to continue to be in school. This is unprecedented and the first time that this has ever happened in our country.
He acknowledged that some of the early policy decisions by President Bola Tinubu are responsible for the actualization of the all-round development in Nigeria.
You are in the forefront as information managers and those who have the responsibility of interfacing with the people at the grassroots, you must go back home with renewed energy, armed with facts, stories, and strategies to effectively mobilize your people to take full advantage of the promise of the renewed hope.
Representatives of the state governments have pledged to be dependable ambassadors of the renewed hope to sustain positive transformation.
In our present context, governance is not only measured by policies enacted or infrastructures built, but by how effectively those actions are conveyed to the people we serve.
A key highlight of our engagement is the proposed federal government PGF media policy and strategy synergy, a groundbreaking framework designed to institutionalize media alignment between the Federal Ministry of Information and the 23 APC-governed states.
The theme of this meeting, strategic communication and policy alignment, is timely and critical as we navigate an era that demands clarity of purpose.
The commissioners for information are expected to return to their states with more knowledge about government policies that will boost their communication prowess. In Mina, the Niger state capital, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
In other news, Minister of Steel Development Shaibu Abubakar Audu has unveiled the federal government's plans to resuscitate all legacy steel assets in Nigeria. This was during a media engagement with the journalists in Abuja ahead of the National Steel Summit designed to explore investment opportunities in Nigeria's steel sector. Ekene Ndulwe reports.
Nigeria reportedly spends about $4 billion annually on importation of foreign steel products. 2 years into the renewed Hope administration, Minister of Steel Development says federal government has set in motion processes to reverse this trend. He says partnerships on revamping Ajokuta steel plant and supporting other private steel plants in Nigeria are already producing results.
The Orbit Fabrication Galvanizing Works Limited, a member of African Industries Group, has also commissioned the 50,000 metric tons galvanizing plant, which I personally commissioned, valued at over $100 million, amongst other new investments into the sector.
The minister further invited industry players and the general public to the maiden National Steel Summit, slated for 16th to 17th July, to critically assess the state of the steel industry.
This maiden summit, coming at about 2 years anniversary of President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, would accord the ministry an opportunity to share the Renewed Hope vision, the milestones recorded so far, and receive feedback from stakeholders.
The ministry encourages the public to visit its website www.steel.gov.ng for more details. In Abuja, Ekene Ndulwe, NTA News.
There is a strategic shake-up in Nigeria's aviation sector as the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, officially inaugurated a new board for the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria to be chaired by the former Kano State Governor and former APC Chairman Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. The appointment is a practical step aimed at strengthening regulatory compliance, enhancing governance, and improving Nigeria's aviation aerospace infrastructure. Aliu Kabir reports.
The Nigerian aviation industry has long been plagued by significant challenges including regulatory concerns, safety issues, economic instability, flight delays and cancellations. For instance, according to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA), between September and October 2024 alone, out of 10,804 flights operated, 5,224 were delayed and 190 were cancelled. This represents a delay rate of 48.3% and a cancellation rate of 1.8%. These statistics underscore the need for effective solutions to address these issues.
If there is cloud or visibility is poor and you are approaching an airport, you must be able to get some equipment that will navigate and lead you to land well.
In a bid to enhance safety standards and institutionalize governance, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has inaugurated a new 8-member board for the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, led by Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, who was nominated by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The board comprises key representatives from the Ministries of Aviation, Defense and Tourism, as well as FAN Managing Director Olubimi Kuku, and a representative from the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, NCAT, Zaria.
The challenges we face are numerous, from infrastructure deficits to ever-evolving dynamics of global aviation. Yet, I am confident that the wealth of experience and expertise that each of you bring to the board will be instrumental in steering FAN towards achieving its mission.
We assure you, in conjunction with the executive management, we shall ensure passenger increasing expectation, passenger satisfaction. Honorable Minister, we shall also ensure the functionality of infrastructural facilities.
The new FAN board faces daunting tasks ahead, including upgrading airport infrastructure to align with global best practices and addressing the long-standing challenges towards a safe and effective service delivery. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
You're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Let's take our second break. The news continues shortly.
Let's have credible elections at the local government so that these credible people can manage the funds of local government properly.
There are a lot of respected traditional rulers in the state who can say, look, enough of this thing. Mr. Governor, welcome. Thank you for coming. When you win, what will you do?
I was the first woman that mobilized women within the local government to form the National Council of Women Society by creating awareness in women that they must serve, they must be part of what is happening within their community.
If you stop expenditure on infrastructure, how do you now attract investments?
The state governors, the presidency, that's the federal government and the local government are all waiting for revenue from crude oil.
Every state has something peculiar. So the emphasis now, if your local government has something peculiar to that particular local government, the emphasis should be keep producing that particular product.
We need to do three things. Prevent the ability of the terrorist groups to generate funding, their ability to recruit, and then their ability to access weapons.
The traditional ruler gives me a title. I sit in the front row in the church, or if I'm going to mosque, when I'm coming, people are passing in God's own house. What am I doing? I'm mentoring a new generation who think that the only way to be taken seriously is to be seen to have a lot of money.
Good Morning Nigeria, live every weekday between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the network service of the NTA.
Thank you for staying with us on the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Let's talk judiciary now. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has affirmed the victory of Monday Okpebolo in the Edo State September 21, 2024 off-cycle governorship election. Olabode Arewa reports that all the issues in contention were resolved against the appellants.
Upon losing the appeal that he filed before the Intermediate Court to challenge his loss at the Election Tribunal, Asorime Ighodalo and his party, the People's Democratic Party, approached the Apex Court for final determination of the matter. Asorime had alleged that he won the election, that Okpebolo's victory was invalid because it purportedly did not comply with the Electoral Act 2022. The five-man panel, led by Justice Muhammad Garba, said Asue and the PDP failed to lead credible evidence in support of their assertions.
His victory has been affirmed by the courts of the land.
No issue of dissent. The Supreme Court agreed in totality. I urge all our supporters that they should not despair. They should be peaceful.
The Apex Court unanimously agreed with the lower courts that dumping BVAS machines before the tribunal without leading evidence on them was fatal to Asue Ighodalo's case. Olaboderewa, NTA News.
In a similar news, President Bola Tinubu congratulates Governor Monday Okpebholo on the affirmation of his victory at the Supreme Court and encourages him to be magnanimous in victory and rally the citizens of Edo across divides towards a singular vision of advancing the state's development. The president, in a statement, says, now that the governor has cleared the legal hurdles, it is time for him to accelerate the delivery of exceptional services and good governance to the people of Edo State, which he has already begun to do so. President Tinubu also congratulates the leadership and members of the All Progressives Congress APC in Edo State and calls for cohesion and dedication in effectively discharging the mandate given by the people. As the global community marks World Population Day today, the message of resilience and hope for the 8 billion people living on the planet resonates stronger. This year's theme, empowering young people to create the families they want in a fair and hopeful world, underscores the importance of investing in youth as key architects of tomorrow. Oluseyi Adebo reports.
This year's World Population Day shines a spotlight on the critical role of health education, particularly reproductive health, in managing population growth and supporting sustainable development. This is Chinedu Eze, a school living certificate holder who has ventured into craft making. Eze shares his belief in having only the number of children he can't adequately care for.
As a youth, if I want to marry now, I would like having one wife with 4 kids. Why 4 kids? Because I know by taking care of them will not be an issue.
His awareness reflects a growing consciousness among some Nigerian youths, but the broader global picture remains troubling. According to the UNFPA State of the World Population Swap report, nearly half of all pregnancies worldwide, approximately 121 million annually, are unintended. In Nigeria alone, an estimated 2.5 million unintended pregnancies occur each year, pointing to significant gaps in access to reproductive health services and education. This year's World Population Day is a call to action for countries to ensure that young people have the rights, tools, and opportunities to shape their own futures.
As a matter of fact, by this year, we expect that 19 children that are 19 years and below constitute half of the population of the country. That's a very youthful population. But beyond that, as you may recall, earlier in June, the State of the World Population was presented, and that report emphasized a real crisis in fertility. So this year's theme centers around that, which is how do we address the fertility crisis? And since the family is the agency of fertility, the focus is on the family. How do we empower young people to be able to create the type of family they want? In Nigeria, as we can see today, many young people are unable to create the family of their choice for many reasons. These reasons span across health, reproductive health issues, gender inequality, economic issues, and even insecurity.
74% of our population is under the age of 34. So it's a youthful population. Once you have the youthful bulge, if you do not invest in them, give them skills, ability, make the environment enabling for them to be able to be easily employed or employ people, there will be problems.
Experts in population management argue that while this demographic structure presents a unique opportunity, failure to invest in it could lead to demographic doom rather than a demographic dividend.
Nigeria must be a country where there is civility, there is equity, there is trust, there is security, and that there is justice.
If these issues are not addressed promptly and with seriousness, there's grave danger for the future of the population. And that's why we are happy that this year's theme has drawn attention to this. We're also happy that the present government is already thinking along those lines. The government has put in place various reforms that are intended to address youth unemployment and to get more young people involved in governance and in policy decision-making. The new coordinating minister for health has also put in place several health policies that embrace youthful concern.
Across the board, stakeholders are unanimous. Nigeria must harness the potential of its youthful population through targeted policies, increased investments in reproductive health to unlock long-term prosperity. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the Presidential Initiative on Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, PIVAC, and the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development are collaborating with Spark Global to train and empower African scientists so as to address the continent's health needs. National Coordinator of PIVAC, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, says the collaboration will ensure local researchers are empowered across the value chain. Also, the initiative will enhance research, development and innovation capacity to tackle prevalent diseases across Africa, while also catalyzing Pan-African collaboration to drive the socio-economic objectives embedded in the value chain.
And researchers to the best capabilities out there in the world to mingle with the best scientists across the world. And our scientists are really also, many of them are world-class, but there are some constraints here and there. So I think that forging that collaboration so that they can learn, they can be trained, and they can have access to wider networks, resources that they can mobilize going into the future for additional work and for building some of the capabilities that they need in their scientists.
The program is embedded within a 2-year program, which provides mentorship, which provides access to investors.
I'm looking forward to sharing our know-how and beginning a long-term relationship with scientists in Nigeria and in Africa.
And talking politics now, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, says the party remains united, contrary to insinuations in some quarters of internal division and attempts by the coalition partners to hijack the party. This was re-echoed after a closed-door meeting between the National Working Committee of the party and all the 36 state and FCT chairmen. Interim National Publicity Secretary of ADC, Bolaji Abdullahi, says it has become necessary to clarify the coalition's role and reinforce unity within the party, which he emphasizes that the party is working with coalition partners to build a credible alternative party ahead of the 2027 general elections.
That we have come to take over this party from them and to push them away. So we have invited them to this meeting to reassure them that we don't have any intention to push them away. We don't have any intention to shove them off. We are here to work with them as partners to build a strong and formidable political party. All the state chairmen will remain in office. But where a chairman is willing to relinquish his position for whatever reason, he's free to do so. But we are not going to ask any chairman to leave his position. That is what we have agreed.
Mr. Abdullahi says the party will not be distracted by what he calls outside noise and remains focused on building the party where its constitution remains supreme. Now, expanding the current Federal Accounts and Allocation Committee, FAC, to include local government representation will further drive the present administration's development initiative to the grassroots level. This was among resolutions reached in a report tagged as Local Open Governance Initiative, powered by a non-governmental organization, Speak Out Africa Initiative. Timothy Yusuf reports.
From policy to people, Logging Niger pilot report for Gwagwalada, Umuahia North and Ibadan Southwest local government areas unveiled. It represents a transformative effort post-Supreme Court pronouncement of financial autonomy for the third tier of government.
As it is, even after the judgment of the Supreme Court, local governments do not attend FAC allocation committee. It is not a good thing, and it does not show compliance to the Supreme Court.
The report, among others, enjoined the federal government through the Central Bank of Nigeria to set a deadline for all local governments to open accounts with them.
As a people, as Nigerians, our major challenge is leadership.
Reform is possible when government actors, civil society, and communities work together with shared purpose. The ministry particularly recognizes the project's emphasis on empowering grassroots actors and young people as key drivers of change.
To solidify financial autonomy gains, stakeholders advocate for political autonomy for local governments. This, they noted, can be achieved by empowering INEC to conduct local government elections, potentially through a dedicated unit called National Local Government Election Unit, with a view to eliminating discrepancies in local government chairmanship tenures. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Nigeria Customs Service has intercepted a container loaded with 10,603 donkey genitals along Abuja-Kaduna Highway. Public Relations Officer of the service, Abdullahi Maiwada, emphasized that the painstaking efforts of the intelligence unit of its Special Wildlife Office led to the seizure. Kunle Adele reports.
Donkeys fall under prohibited wildlife products, though Customs has scaled up its anti-wildlife operations, but the interception of more than 10,000 donkey genitals calls for greater vigilance. The pertinent questions to ask are, why the sudden crave for this sensitive part of these endangered species, and who have been arrested in connection with the crime? The Customs spokesman puts the issue in perspective.
Now, the issue of suspects, it's an abundant seizure. There is no suspect, but investigation is ongoing to train those who are behind this. This is caught in a vehicle. That vehicle will have a registration number, and we have a way of doing our forensic analysis and so many ways to get to those who are involved. In terms of prosecutions, I've stated earlier, we have got some convictions earlier last year, and there are so many prosecutions ongoing in court to make sure that we nip this on the body.
The service, however, disclosed that the recent seizure is not an isolated case, as culprits are being given regular hot chase, with similar interceptions recorded in various locations nationwide.
Most of these things that are arrested are not indigenous to Nigeria. They do come into Nigeria on transit. So therefore, we have been engaging the rural communities and border communities where these things have been coming through to make them aware of the threat that this has to our environment.
Another task before the service is its quest to remain uncompromising in the enforcement of the provisions of the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023 in partnership with other agencies. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
More job opportunities will be unveiled in just a matter of days to unemployed youth in Nigeria as the federal government is set to launch the second phase of the Renewed Hope Employment Initiative. Director General of the National Directorate of Employment, Silas Agara, who made this known during a brainstorming session with coordinators of the program across Nigeria in Abuja, says a minimum of 21,000 job opportunities is the target in the next stage. Joseph Osen reports.
Provision of entrepreneurship skills and empowerment of the beneficiaries are major components of the foundation the federal government is laying to make thousands of young Nigerians self-reliant and employers of labor themselves. After the first phase of the Renew Hope Employment Initiative, not less than 36,000 benefited, including women and persons with disabilities.
In Ondo State, I think we empower close to 1,000 people. Some were given equipment worth about 500,000.
We have over 300 businesses emanating from that first phase.
Despite adjudging the first phase as huge success, the National Directorate of Employment says it has taken steps to correct few obstacles experienced during the first phase, mostly associated with payment of stipends to beneficiaries and proximity of training centers for seamless exercise in the next stage.
A lot of links were being circulated as NDE links, while we are not aware of some of those links. And so we are going to be giving you passport on a daily basis to enable you log in and assist beneficiaries that will be having challenges key into the system. It is your responsibility to recruit beneficiaries at the state level.
NDE says it is going fully digital with the second phase, and this engagement will enable the coordinators to adopt a take-off time as they examine innovations, especially a newly developed portal accommodating registration, selection,
agriculture, food security, health, energy, and tourism sectors.
I'm very pleased to see that the group is already engaging with Swedish businesses, Swedish companies that are not just investing in Nigeria, but co-creating with the ambition to pioneer innovation in green energy, digital transformation, sustainable infrastructure, healthcare, and the technology landscape.
The National Examinations Council, NECO, is looking forward to conducting NECO examinations for Nigerian citizens resident in Sweden, just like we are doing in 6 African countries and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The Kingdom of Sweden's global reputation for innovation, environmental sustainability, human capital development, and inclusive governance aligns perfectly with the aspiration of our university. We therefore look forward to deepening our engagement with Swedish universities, research institutions, and innovation clusters.
The ultimate objective of this unison is to be a beacon and a point of reference in initiating, fostering, and promoting sustainable partnerships of development that are measurable and mutually beneficial for both countries.
So far, we've had about 25,000 teachers in the past 2 years. Their capacities built to be able to tenaciously support children within schools.
So we are operating in 5 different countries today with over 250 institutions on our platform, and we have over 500,000 users.
We want to pay a visit to Sweden, whereby we are going to have some certain discussion with their parliaments.
From the National Assembly, Joshua Oguchide, NTA News.
This is the News at 10 on NTA News 24. Here is a recap of our top stories. Nigerian delegation visits model cattle ranch in Brazil, seeks to replicate same in Nigeria.
Security because of farmer herder crisis. If you're able to have this ranching and have cattle in a controlled environment,